YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. I'm excited to be back on Total War Warhammer. We're going to be jumping into a replay where I'm going to go up against the Empire. Empire player brings several units that are quite a bit of a threat to me. He's got Empire General on a Griffin, an Amber Wizard who's going to spawn a Feral Manticore. These units pose a significant threat, especially considering that I decided to leave all my bows at home. But I've decided to try and put to use some Centigors since we've been talking about them. So I've got 5 Centigors with great weapons, and I was hoping my opponent would bring great swords, and he did. So yeah, I did expect to maybe see some Demigryph Knights. I was going to just have to deal with them as they come. But I've got 6 Ungor Herd, an Ungor Spear, Malagor the Dark Omen sitting right here in the center. My opponent had originally picked Bretonnia, and I went ahead and picked an army to face against Bretonnia, so that's why I have a whole bunch of Ungor Herd, because they should be okay versus cheap Bretonian infantry. And I was going to just rush through his lines with Gorbull to get to the archers. Then my opponent switched to Empire, and I wasn't paying attention, so I was like, alright, well, we'll just have to make what I have work against Empire. So all the Centigors with great weapons, we're expecting Knights of the Realm. Or potentially even Grail Knights, and I figured they would perform quite well versus those targets. When I saw the Empire, I was quite surprised not to see any real cavalry. He's gone with all anti-large infantry. I'm going to pull up the Centigor here, and I'm going to try and open fire, but he does have a Templehof Luminarch, which is going to be quite good against Centigor. The Centigor is not going to be very good at hitting the Luminarch. And the Luminarch can get in range, and there's not much I can do about it, really, because if I rush forward, he's going to be able to shoot me up with all of his guns and crossbows. But if I hold back, the Luminarch can kind of fire away, and my Centigor is going to be a very easy target. And my first shot missed. So yeah, you can see he takes a great shot. At this point, I was like, well, my Centigor's toast, and I was like, well, fortunately, I didn't spend any money on him. Now my opponent has these 2 flying lackeys over here. And he's obviously hoping to swoop in and kill some high-value targets. And I'm sitting here thinking, all right, what's the best way? So my Centigors with great weapons ought to be extremely good versus these flying lords because they're cavalry, not infantry, so they won't get knocked around. I have a ton of anti-armor capability. You can see my my poor Centigor. He's like, anything for air. If he tells me to get shot, that's what I'll do. The good news is a Templehof Luminarch doesn't have a ton of ammo. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to leave my Centigor back here. At first, I let him march forward, but then I go ahead and give him an attack order. I'm going to leave him behind here in a moment. And I'm going to try and lure the Empire flying lackeys down into the Centigor. There, that missed shot actually did some damage to my Centigors. The Centigor is just getting absolutely wrecked. And I was like, this probably won't work because my Centigor is so dead. But no, my opponent immediately bites. And I was like, what a sucker. So I turn around with my Centigors immediately, and he does get a net of Ammontok off on me, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the rest of my troops around here in a moment, and now his flying units are completely pinned to the ground, and they're completely away from all their support, so they are going to get wrecked by a ton of anti-armor, extremely fast cavalry. So they have no way to get away from that now. Unfortunately, a Gorbull did get caught out here, and he got the crud shot out of him by a bunch of handgunners. And crossbows, but I'm going to be able to get away, and I'm just going to pull back, because now the Empire player's Lord is stuck back here with no support. I'm going to pull back with my infantry. Why engage? I'll just wait and kill his Lord and his Manticore, hopefully, at this point. The best thing my opponent could do here would be to get his Light Wizard up where he could use a net of Ammontok. Gorbull just took a nasty shot. The good news is the Luminarch, most of the kills on it are against either cheap infantry, and it's wasted considerable number of shots on the Centigor and then this Gorbull. So this is actually okay for me at the moment. I'm alright with this trade because he's trading a lot of very important ammunition for units that he didn't really get a whole lot out of. The Manticore's routing, it was about to rout. It hasn't quite routed, it's wavering. Now he should have aimed that Luminarch right for this blob, and he could have killed a ton of my cavalry, but he's insistent on trying to kill my Lord or other high-value single targets, which is fine. Those are decent targets, but the Luminarch could have done a great job here. Now, the Luminarch does drop this net of Ammontok on me again, but the General of the Empire dies. The only downside is that his Feral Manticore, it's routing, and since my guys aren't actually attacking, they're stuck in the nets. Actually, they may be attacking as it comes past. Yeah, they are attacking, but they can't move, so the Feral Manticore is going to get away. my Warhounds, which I have one unit that I Vanguard deployed, I'm using them to harass his skirmishers who were trying to move about the battlefield with impunity. Unfortunately, the Pharaoh Manticore gets away, but hey, we traded a general of the Empire there for a Cygor, and I'm okay with that trade. Absolutely okay. And he's traded most of his Luminarch shots. He only has 3 left. So I'm feeling all right, and I have Malagor in the middle of one of these spear units just to give him a little bit of meat shield. So now my Centigors are free, and I can go ahead and assault the Empire army. At this point, it's not going to be super easy, but essentially the plan's pretty straightforward. Fix his front, and then come swinging in from behind with the Centigors with great weapons because they wreck infantry so thoroughly. It's like the one thing that we decided that that Centigors were good at. And since my opponent didn't take any cavalry here, it was a foregone conclusion to him, I guess. He's going to be in trouble because he doesn't have the mobility to stop all the charges that I can do. And I've got 5 Centigors with great weapons that'll be coming in from behind him. And although my Ungor herd aren't all that good, he's going to have to, he's going to be in trouble because he's going to have to face him. And if I get any holes into his back lines, I'm going to be able to wipe out his skirmishers. You can see I've kind of got my Gorbulls ready as well. I was thinking about leading the way with the Gorbulls, but I don't want to get them killed a little bit too early. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get my cavalry worked over to the flanks. At this point, I'm in a great position to do some skirmishing. He's moving spearmen to intercept me. The problem is like I said, I've got enough units back here that a single unit of spears is only going to work against my Centigors if I took both of them maybe headlong into it. But you'll see kind of what my plan is here. Now he's going to use this stinking net again. So the net of Amontok is an extreme nuisance if you're playing against it, and he's going to use the opportunity to put a big hit on Malagor, and he was successful. Malagor is not all that key to my plan at the moment, though. I've got Gorbulls for morale support, and the Centigors are going to come in here and start doing some work. So see how I'm splitting Centigors off to the rear, to the flanks? I've got them everywhere. I'm going to bring Gorbull in. I'm going to bring all my Ungor herd in. And I'm going to start trying to fix some of these targets. And I went ahead and gave a Centigor charge on this Greatsword. He's going to send more Greatswords that's fine. This is opening up positions for me in the rear, so I'm bringing in my my Chaos Warhounds, and I'm going to get into his crossbows. Now his Manticore comes out here to finish off Malagor again, who cares? And then I'm going to hit this Spearman from both sides, so he thought this Spearman was going to protect him against large, and it's just going to get wrecked. So Spearman's going to get wrecked, and then his Greatswords are piling up against my Ungor herd. And then the Luminarch just took its last shot, so it's out of commission. Nice rear charge here into the Spearmen, so the Spearmen are going to get wrecked. Gorbull is keeping a bunch of these units busy, and then a Centigor herd got into these crossbows back here, and then the Warhounds and another Centigor herd. But here comes the net of Amontok again. I'm getting hit by nets fairly often here. That's the only spell the Light Wizard brought to show you how dependent upon it a lot of Empire players are. But my Centigors are wreaking havoc. He's casting nets, and it's definitely helping him, but he is taking a beating here from the rear charges of my Centigors. His Amber Wizard is dying, his Great Swords are routing, and this army with a bunch of routing units is the perfect army for it. So my Chaos Warhounds and my Centigors can easily chase these routing units and keep them off the battlefield. So this is going to be critical for me. Again, Centigors with great weapons here swung in and just destroyed the Great Swords that were in this fight. So his Great Swords, which would have been extremely superior, weren't able to finish the job fast enough. Again, extremely annoying. This net ends up catching more and more of my men, or my beast, I should say. But you'll notice that, again, his units out here routing, I'm assigning a Warhound to run them down. So a Great Swords here won't be able to come back because a Warhound is after it. And then there's routing units over here, too. So I'm going to be able to get a hold of them. I had some units come back from routing myself, but I haven't activated them. I'm just kind of trying to focus in on this fight. The Pharaoh Manticore is going down. I've got some Centigors here that are about to get charged by halberds, and I'm busy microing elsewhere. I'm making sure that these routing units don't come back. Over here, a unit of Great Swords had come back from routing and immediately gets charged by my Centigors. So it's going to keep that from coming back into the fight. And then back here in the center, all of his units just get completely wiped out. So it kind of feels like in this game, my opponent got a little bit overconfident with those flying lackeys there at the beginning. He was taking down my Cygor, and I think that he probably felt like, yeah, we wiped out his Cygor. He's got no long range. This is going to be a slaughter. He's going to just walk right into my my missile slaughter, and my great swords can take his guys. But definitely underestimated the Centigors there. As his flying lord came down, he just got mobbed and destroyed. And definitely will work because these guys are fast, and that's a ton of armor-piercing damage, and it's extremely hard for the flying units to get up and away from these Centigors. Now, if they hit the Centigors with their charge, they might do a lot of damage, but you wouldn't ever want to bring a flying lord down into a unit that can keep it fixed like that. Would be my recommendation, at least. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. It was a fun battle. I'm probably only shooting about 50-50 with the Beastmen, to be honest. You all have seen me winning battles because I'm trying to show you winning strategies. But I mean, against the Empire, the Beastmen is tough, and I'm losing probably most of my battles against the Empire and the Vampires, but I'm doing fairly well against other factions with Beastmen, depending on the type of army I picked. But I definitely liked the flexibility that the Centigors with great weapons gave me here in terms of giving me a ton of speed, and then the Warhounds helping to eliminate routing units and missiles. 81 kills on a Warhound is great. And you can see that most of my army didn't do a ton of work. It was really these mobile units that did most of the work. Anyway, like I said, hope you all enjoyed this one. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you back soon.